Right, we are back. This one is absolutely incredible. So I've been sent this video a couple of times by different viewers of a piece. It's a technique that's normally done with glass, and it's like a swirly galaxy. I don't know whether you've seen them. So yeah, I had a few goes yesterday, and the results are absolutely stunning. I'll show you all at the end, but this one is incredible. It does need a few stages. You may think to yourself, Dan, that's a lot of work, but just remember, things don't make themselves. So we're doing this one with UV resin, using the Resin Rockers clear hard type. We're also going to need a couple of colours from the Resin Rockers liquid dye set, just the blue and the white. We're going to be doing this in two parts. We're going to be working on a back piece and then a front piece, similar to my Vortex Galaxy video, if you've seen that. So for our backing, we are going to be mixing up some clear UV resin. Just going to pour some in my mixing cup here. And then to that, I'm going to be adding some of the blue. This is the blues, it's a dark blue. 5 drops to begin with, and thoroughly mix that in. Now there are some videos on this already, but they don't really go in depth, step by step. They don't talk about what could go wrong, the videos that I've seen anyway. So I'm going to try and keep this as simple as I can. It can be tricky, I'm not going to lie. I have had some failures. I'll talk about those shortly. It's not all flying, what's the word? Honestly, guys, right? I'm not going to lie. It's been one of those days. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm filming a video that has to be up for tomorrow. I've got to I've got to film it, edit it. I've got to do so much. And I've had a few failed attempts. Again, I will show those. It's not an easy technique, trust me. What makes it really annoying, guys, is that I did it 3-4 times yesterday, didn't have one problem. Today, get to my studio thinking, oh, I'll start filming it, and things just started going wrong, mainly because I keep forgetting stages. And bubbles are another issue with this, but I'm gonna try and do it this time and get it right. So this is the first stage. You can see I've left a generous gap at the top. That is important because this piece we need to do in a couple of, well, 2 or 3. Oh, I'm losing my words again. 2 or 3 stages. And out comes the beast. I'm going to give that only about 30 seconds because I can finish curing it after the next steps. I don't want the resin to shrink so much that it pulls away from the mold. Now that's cured, I'm just going to let that cool down for 5 minutes. So whilst that's cooling down, let's talk about little balls. So I've got these nail beads, balls. These are going to be planets. And what I've also done is I've pre-made if you remember my Tahitian pearl video, hashtag 252 I think it was, I made Tahitian pearls using builder clay. So I've made a tiny one which is going to be a big planet, and then I might use a couple of the smaller ones to go in there as well. You can kind of chop and change this around however you like. What I'm going to do, this is just the way that I had a little play around after I'd studied the video that was sent to me. I kind of just did my own tweak. So this is cat eye nail gel. That is the code. Most of you have probably already got this from previous videos where I've shown it. I'm just going to brush that all over that blue. You could do that with mica powder, whatever you want. Just have a little play. Just using my magnet. Just going to manipulate those pigments like so. Then using my handheld torch, just give that a quick cure. Now I want some gold space dust. Again, a gold mica would probably work, but this is a gold nail powder. As always, all links to everything I'm using will be in the description box below the video. Just click see more. I'm just going to dab some of that around the surface. Not too much because it really will be magnified by the front. Now I'm going to mix up some of the blue that we've already mixed with a tiny amount of white, also from that set from Resin Rockers. This is alternative, and this will make it semi-opaque, which is going to be our swirls or vortex in the galaxy, and just thoroughly mix that in. As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks, any new subs, and all my existing subs. Thank you very much. So that is the colour of the blue, semi-opaque. Right, now I mustn't forget to add this is one of the steps that I had go wrong in a previous video I tried filming. So what I'm going to do now is focus my camera, Daniel, and fill this, again, not all the way. See, I've left about 1 millimeter from the top. That is important because when these molds come up, there's an area where it goes flat. This is what I mean by that. These are two halves of a round one that are stuck together. You see that flat area? I want to try and minimize that risk. Right, so now taking our blue that we've just mixed with some white, I'm going to add some drops around the outer edge of the mold, like so. Then we're going to spin it. By that, I mean we're going to take our stick and we're just going to keep spinning the middle. That is going to start manipulating those into a really nice swirl. Then I'm going to take my little planets, pop them in, if I can pick them up. And then begin to make sure that they're positioned correctly. Like so. Now be careful because some beads can bleed. They're coated in a colour that can bleed out. So just be careful with what you're using and then cure it. Oh yeah, I know, I forgot my mirrored base again. Now, for the lens, the front of the piece, we're just going to do the same. We're not going to fill it all the way up again. We're going to leave a good millimeter from the top. Now we're going to repeat what we did on the base with the blue and the spinning. Bring some, don't want too much in the middle because we need that window to be able to see the galaxy in the background. And copy this pattern if you want. And again, just spin. I've seen people using electric drills to do this part. If you want to do that, you can try it and cure. We can now pop these out. Now comes the risky part. You've seen me do this in the past in previous videos if you've been following me. We need to bond this to the base part. But the trouble is we have kind of a dip. So if I was to pour resin on there, and if this one's got the dip as well, and I was to place that over, we are going to be 100% trapping bubbles inside. So back to the piece that I showed you about the flat, I rushed this piece and you can see that really big bubble inside there. Whoops. And again on this one, I had a bubble there and it can be a right pain. So I've taken them out for this stage. I'm just going to level them out. If I'd have done it in there, obviously I'm adding to the mold, which is going to give us more of that flat edge, which I don't want. So I'm just going to level these out and top them up. I'm going to lower my eye so I can see from the right level. Just make sure they're flat. So there you can see. Much better. If you've got any areas like that where you've got a tiny little sticky yappy bit, that could cause an issue. Just using the edge of my scissors, just going to take that down just a tiny bit, like so. Just so that I know when I rest the other piece on top, it's not going to stop that part from bonding. Guys, I want you to keep your fingers crossed for this part. This is the part where it could all go wrong. But I am going to be sanding this and dipping it afterwards. So if any come out the sides, any resin comes out the sides, I'm not overly fussed. So I can now take my top section and just lower that into place. And then using my flashlight, I put a little bit too much in there just because see that bubble just in there. It's a tiny bubble, but I don't want it there. So I've managed to lift it off again and just cleared up the drip that went underneath. And we're going to do it again. It's good to show the ugly side of resin as well as the good. Not everything goes right. Right, now, making sure that that is lined up as best as it can be. I'm just going to use my flashlight just to bond the sides so I can let go. Like that. And before I cure that under my big lamp, I'm just taking that excess that's dripped down the sides off, just to save on having to sand those areas even more. The next stage is optional. I'm going to do it because I prefer to get a much nicer finish. You can see where some has dripped down. I'm going to sand my piece all over just using a P600. Just take that all the way down to a matte in circular motions over the whole piece. So once that has sanded, or is sanded, I'm just going to wipe the whole piece down with some alcohol just to remove any of that dust. Because next comes the part I love, and that is dipping. So there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could drill into the blue now and add an eyelet, then using some long nose pliers, hold the eyelet and then dip it. I'm just doing it the way that I like. You can judge me, I don't care. This works for me. I am just going to UV resin, not there, don't want it there. I'm just going to UV resin my stick onto the back like this. That will give me a firm hold when I dip it in my pot. I'm actually going to add a little bit more over the back of the stick just to make 100% be 100% sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And this is the way I do it, and it also gives me an area to drill into afterwards. So this is just a pot of UV resin I've got. It's important that the pot is solid so that light cannot cure the resin inside. Now what I'm going to do is dip this, but I'm going to cure it to the side of camera. So when it comes to curing, you want to dip it and then drip off your excess. Right, ready? And then rotate it under your lamp as it's curing so that it doesn't form drip marks. Look at that so far. That is crazy. And just make sure the whole piece is covered all over the back. Like so. Also got my lamp away from my pot because I do need to keep rotating it. So I'm just going to drip off the excess. Just hold it there for a minute. So I think a tiny bit more is coming off. Once I'm happy that there's not a drip forming at the bottom, I can then just start rotating it and move it to my lamp and turn it on. Just when you think it's stopping, you get a little bit more. Just be patient with it. Don't go scraping it on the pot though, because that can actually separate the resin from the surface, and you'll have to re-dip it to close that gap. I'm happy with that now, so I can just carefully start rotating that whilst it's on the stick. Now move that and cure it under my lamp. And again, this is why the stick works really well, because you can't really rotate a pair of pliers like that. It's just awkward, and this just works. So now I can just begin to start twisting the stick. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit left in there. Really doesn't matter, because that is going to be our drill point. Like so. You're probably thinking, oh, but you're going to see through, but remember, the nail gel and the gold powders should hide any drill holes. So using that existing hole, I'm just going to use my spring drill, but slowly begin to turn it in that hole. Just work it. I'm not going to use the spring action on it, because just the way it is, I'm just going to start that. I don't want it slipping, if that makes sense. These bits are really sharp. I'm just going to begin to drill. Don't need to go too far, because the eyelet that I'm going to put in will just screw into that stick that's there, that leftover point of the stick. Then taking my eyelet, just start turning that into the piece. This is going to be the most secure way for this. Then once you get so far, just hold the eyelet and twist the piece until it's as tight as it can be. Now with the blue resin again, I'm just going to tidy it up a little bit around that stem and cure it with my handheld torch. That will also make it a bit more secure. Right, long-winded, quite a few stages, but 100% worth it when you see the results. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment if you haven't subbed. It is free. Hit that button down there for me. Right, so these are some that I did yesterday, just round. And they really are stunning. I think I went too much with the spiral on that one. Well, this one was much better. You see what I mean? If you look at that red planet there, there's a little bit of colour that's come off it where I moved it after putting it in the resin. But it does help in a way, because if you look closely, it almost looks like a sun that's on fire and it's bursting out like a solar ray. What do you call them? Oh, it's one of them days, guys. I can't think of the word. But the gold and the nail gel really does create an amazing background. This was another one. No, actually, I'll show you that one afterwards. Let's show you the one that we've just made. Absolutely incredible. It's so glass-like. The swirls are crazy. See the way, what I mean about that blue, that it just echoes through the whole piece. It's stunning. Absolutely stunning. It's worth the stress. If you get the bubbles, just be careful when you're placing them on top. Just really check for bubbles before you bond them. Absolutely stunning. This one, I prefer this one over the one that I did yesterday. The planets are just a little bit small. I mean, it's still stunning, but I love it. I don't think I'll be making them again in a hurry though. Hats off to those who do this on a regular basis. Right, hope you enjoyed that one. I'm glad I finally got it right for... No, don't scratch it. I'm glad I got there in the end. Right, see you for the next one. Bye for now.